During this COVID-19 coronavirus global pandemic, the irony is we're actually dealing with two contagions, the virus itself and the emotions that it generates. Two contagions, the virus and the emotions it generates. The negative emotions that we feel because of this high level of stress that we're in are every bit as contagious as the virus. And what's more, they are also as toxic as the virus. That's amazing, isn't it? Fatigue, fear, panic, anxiety undermine our ability to think clearly and creatively. Those negative emotions undermine our relationships effectively. Those negative emotions undermine our ability to focus attention on the right priorities. They undermine our ability to make smart choices. Essentially, what we're saying is the inability to manage those negative emotions are causing the quality of our lives to drop precipitously. During this stressful and high anxiety time, it is mandatory that we learn how to manage our minds. So here's the good news. There's a very simple practice that's designed to do just that. It's called, and you know it well, gratitude, the practice of gratitude. When we sit down, pause for a moment, and say, I'm grateful for, and we complete that sentence, it begins to shift our whole physiology and psychology. My wife and I actually, on our phones, have the app. It's a very simple one called Gratitude, but there are all kinds of apps on the phone. Download one of them, and the app essentially asks you to complete that sentence. You type it out. I'm grateful for. You make it specific. You do 5 to 10 of them if you want, about 10 minutes worth, and you read them back. If you're doing this with your significant other or a friend or somebody else, or even by yourself, you read it back out loud, your whole list. And what happens as a result? Here's the power of the practice of gratitude. The neuroscience of gratitude says that your brain, when you focus on what's good in your life, your brain releases two chemicals. This is the neurochemical cocktail of the most productive happy hour possible. Here we go. It releases dopamine. This is the feel-good chemical. Uh, it, and because it feels good, we want more of it. It triggers positive emotions. We feel optimistic. It fosters better relationships. It drives pro-social behaviors. Dopamine, feel-good chemical. And your brain releases serotonin. That's the happy chemical. When we reflect on or write down the positives in our lives, our brain releases this. It's the original mood enhancer. Think the original anti-depressant, serotonin. So these two chemicals are released in our brains. They form this powerful cocktail, and we suddenly find that our whole attitude begins to shift. It's a physiological response and it's a psychological response, two very important things. So in this era of high stress, high levels of anxiety, high levels of uncertainty, I don't know if you've discovered this in your life or found it. I certainly have. I mean, do you notice that your ability to be patient is dropping drastically? Do you notice that the conflicts between the people that you're quarantined with are happening more frequently and maybe even in more painful ways? That's because we're getting caught up in this whole physiology and psychology of long-term anxiety and stress. So a very simple practice of gratitude, and it sounds almost too simple, but the science is absolutely clear, has the capacity to lower our exhaustion level, our cynicism, to increase our ability to get along with each other better because it's shifting the chemical reactions happening in our brains and in our bodies. Gratitude. I invite you, if you're not doing it already, to step into the simple practice of gratitude. What are some things I am grateful for? My wife and I have noticed that when we do this regularly, it really is shifting our mentality. And what we've also noticed is during times of high stress or anxiety or depressed feelings, when when we enter into that practice, I remember one walk we took into downtown San Francisco, and we decided because we were both feeling pretty discouraged about our work, we both decided we would just do this gratitude together. We did it for about 30 minutes as we walked all through downtown. And I have to say that my spirit was lifted up by the end of that walk in a much more positive way. It was that dramatic for me. It may not be this dramatic for you or for me every time, but we know that the physiology and the psychology shift dramatically and effectively in this simple practice. So I invite you to step into gratitude every day and just see what that will do to your mood and your ability to manage this stress and anxiety that we're all feeling these days. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.